Hey, Brian. Good morning. Good morning, friends. How is everybody today? How we doing? How are we doing? I hope everybody's good. Just gonna share this out. Let's see. Trying to get this all shared out. Let's see what we got here. I think that's it. Oh, no, one more. There we are. Good morning. Hey, Bri. How are you guys? Okay. Good morning, Marla. Good morning, Daddy. Good morning, intercessors. How are we doing? How are we doing this morning? What's our check today? What's our check? Just gonna tell you, might be a little weeping today. Just telling you. Because I do feel a heaviness, but I have a good report. How about that? I got a good report, which is always good. So we'll just give a few minutes for people to pop on. Hopefully everybody is, we're just getting through, right? We're just going to get through. So we'll just give a few minutes for people to pop on and say good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, I'm on YouTube, so that's good. That's a good thing. Let's see how that goes. We'll just continue. So, all right, I want to check. How is everybody doing? Do we have thumbs up? Do we have hearts? What do we have? What are we going with today? Let's see. Good reports are always nice. Yeah, well, that's how I feel. What are we feeling? I want to know what. Hey, Darren. Now I can do it. Oh, let me go back to Darren. There we go. Yes, he is. Darren, do you have electricity? Do we have electricity in Washington? I talked to a friend. She didn't have it in Washington State. So, do you guys have electricity? What's the atmosphere? Start praying. Just start praying. Clear up that atmosphere. Hey, Robin. All things are good. Yes. Yep. They are working together for your good. You got it. For your good, for our good, for his good. It's all good. Okay, good. You have it. Yeah, my friend is in Olympia and she says she doesn't have any electricity. So there you go. Good morning, Robin. Good morning. It's the morning song. It's the morning song. Okay, so I got Marla has thumbs up and some hearts. I just want to do a check and see how everybody's doing. So, put out a little emoji and just put, how you feeling? Hey, Heather. Not worrying, but staying in prayer. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny because, as I was thinking about everything, and I've been watching some videos. If you guys if you're not connected to California, definitely do that. because let me tell you something, his music, well, first of all, I got a chance to get to meet him. He is incredibly awesome. Just love him. But yeah, he is so good, and his music is so uplifting. And I actually just watched, I'm actually going to what it was called. Hold on. I think it's called The Storm Is Here. He just did a song and he posted it, and it was so good. It was so good, but it did make me cry a little bit, because one of the things that God really talked to me is he talked to me about the love of this country. And hey, Luann, there we go. It's Jennifer, right? Sorry, I'm sorry. Let me see here. Let's see what we got, and I can't seem to find it. I'll find it anyway, because I pinned it, I think, on my crown chats. Let me just say, yeah, it's called "The Storm Is Here" by Michael Beatty. So you can go to McCaliforniamusic.com. But his music, he's a Christian. He was a worship leader. I don't know if he still is a worship leader, but he was a worship leader. But his music is very anointed, and it's definitely about putting that love of God and country and everything that he does. And so the Lord talked to me about our country. And he actually said to me, he said that, Lisa, he said, the love that you have for your country, he says, I have placed inside you just like Israel. Now, this was back in 2012. We were actually interceding and praying. We were praying for the country. We were praying for America. And so we were just kind of seeing, and the Lord started to talk to me about how there have been so many people, especially those who have authority, who have been cursing America. And the Lord said to me, you need to start blessing America, Lisa. He said, so many have cursed her. You need to start blessing her. And I started to hear the song, God Bless America. And as soon as I started hearing it in my head, and it was actually Kate Smith, which is so old. I don't even know if you guys know who Kate Smith was. But I started to hear that in my head. And then the person who was running the prayer meeting, now our eyes are closed and we're praying, and I'm hearing this in my head. And she goes over and she puts on God Bless America on her computer, so it starts to play. So God confirmed what I was hearing, and I started to cry. And the Lord said to me, he said that he wasn't done with America. And he started to show me the different states, and I saw different states, and I saw crucifixes going through the state, and the state names would buckle. That's what I saw. And the Lord started to talk to me, and he said, oh shoot, I'm so sorry, guys. Hold on just 1 second. Hey, what's up? Oh, good. Can I call you back? 'Cause I'm doing a broadcast. I just want to make sure it wasn't important. Okay. Okay, all right, I'll do it right now. The interesting about it is God started to talk to me that the states that turned back to him, that those were going to be the states that were going to be blessed, that they were going to have less natural disasters, they were going to have less unemployment, that they were going to that it was going to cause a jealousy in the other states to turn, because they were going to say, how come this state has this? So that was a really long time ago, and here we are now. And as I was just like looking at things, I was like, wow, okay, God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because he's up to something. And so I was just asking the Lord, and I was saying, Papa, what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to do this? And so I've just been kind of praying, and I just felt like God is just saying that his words are going to come to pass. His words are going to come to pass. That's what I just really feel. His words are going to come to pass. And so when I looked, biblical justice. I like that. Brian. And let me just show you the scripture that I actually saw this morning. And when I saw it and I read it, I'm going to read it to you guys because there was something that really popped out. And this is in Psalms 89. And it says, the second poem, God keeps his promises. And it says, you spoke to your prophets in vision, saying, I have found a mighty hero for my people. I have chosen David as my loving servant and exalted him. But let's just change it just a little bit, okay? Just hear my heart on this. I have chosen Donald as my loving servant and exalted him. I have anointed him as king with the oil of my holiness. I will be strength to him, and I will give him my grace to sustain him no matter what comes. None of his enemies will get the best of him, nor will the wicked one overpower him. For I will crush his every adversary and do away with all who hate him. Because I love him and treasure him, my faithfulness will always protect him. I will place my great favor upon him. I will cause his power and fame to increase. Just listen to that little bit, just that little bit, because it popped out at me as I was reading it. And I know it's about David, but God is not a respecter of people. Of persons, and he can use anybody. And I truly felt that was for our president. I truly felt that he has protection. As I have said before, the Lord has told me that that's Teflon Don. that nothing will stick to him. That's what I heard. Look, I'm telling you, I'm just repeating what I've heard, And so what I really feel is interesting. Okay, and it's deeply biblically rooted. Well, what I really feel, and let's go back to what it says. It says, because I love him and treasure him, my faithfulness will always protect him. Listen to that. Because I love him and I treasure him, my faithfulness will always protect him. Let's go back to this. For I will crush his every adversary and do away with all who hate him. Never in my life have I ever seen such hatred of a man. Ever. I mean, seriously, let's really think about it. I've never, there have been divisions and stuff, but I've never seen such actual hatred. Such hatred. It's unbelievable. And to me, it's almost biblical. And the reason I'm going to say that is because God uses people, as we know. God uses people. He has to use people. He has to use people. And so when he uses people, they have been prepared. And I think I kind of talked about this yesterday, but, I was thinking about Joseph. I was thinking about how Joseph was prepared by God, right? He was prepared by God. He knew the ways of the Egyptians. Joseph knew the ways of the Egyptian. And so he was able to understand them. He was able to communicate with them. He understood their whole culture, okay? So there was something about that God started to really show me that is how he had great influence. That's how he was able to get in. That's how he was able to gain great favor, because he knew their ways. Now hear this out. He knew their ways. See, God's going to use people that already, that know the ways. Like even with Moses, when he brought Moses to be the deliverer, Moses knew their ways. Moses knew their ways. And so he was able to understand how they thought. And he was able to understand what needed to be done. And I think that's kind of the same thing when we look at everything that's going on. Like, what are we fighting for? Are we truly fighting for a man, or are we fighting for a nation? What are we fighting for as patriots? Who are we fighting for? We are fighting that God wins. Now, somebody can say, well, you guys are like a cult. Oh, no, we're fighting for America. We're fighting for the land that we love. We're fighting for our ancestors that have fought for this country and have tried to give us freedom. And the truth is, guys, we really haven't had freedom. We've actually been slaves. And do you remember the verse where Jesus says to the Pharaoh, or to the Pharisees, and he says that you guys have been slaves? And they go, we are not slaves. Because sometimes slavery doesn't look like what you think it is. But we have been slaves to a system. We have been taught how to think. We've been taught who to worship. Half of the stuff that we do that we don't do anymore, it's really interesting. It's very, very interesting how God has pulled us away. When God said to me, he goes, Lisa, have you noticed you don't watch television anymore? And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't. He goes, I did that. That's what he said. I did that. Like he was proud of it. He was like, I did that. Because there was a reason. Because I didn't know that I was being programmed. I had no idea that television was trying to set my thoughts and putting these different ideas into my mind. And so I pulled away. But God did it. I didn't even know it. And it was very slow. He did it. He would turn me and just, bring me someplace else and distract me. So God can do a lot of different things, and he can prepare you. When he started to prepare me for ministry, what did he do? He took me to a cosmetic counter to start seeing women who were broken. And these women didn't know they were broken. They had no idea they were broken. But he would talk to me and tell me they were. And he would tell me about their hearts and how they felt about each other. And I would share with them and I would see it. He started to prepare me. That's what he did. He took me into different places and to meeting different people. He's preparing me. And it's the same thing that we're going through right now. The calling that he has, our president has, is huge. And it's not for him. It's for God. God uses people. And so as we're praying and as we're decreeing and declaring, we're fighting alongside him. Because as intercessors or as prophets or as priests or as teachers, we're wanting to do what God is telling us to do. But there's a lot of scriptures that talks about, like in the end of days, that the very elect will be fooled. It talks about it. And so we always say, well, how could they be fooled? How could they be fooled? Hello? Hello? I think we're here. When somebody said that fake news was the false prophets of Baal, I went, oh my gosh, we've been looking at things in such a wrong place. God's been telling us. He's been showing us. He's been telling us, look at this. He's been giving us the messages about the Esthers, and he's giving us the messages about the Moses, and he's giving us the messages about the Davids and the Cyruses, and he's using things that we can go back and we can see that each of those people that have been called out have all been victorious. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. when it says it's going to be biblical, according to the favorite letter of our alphabet, when it says it's going to be biblical, it's because it will be biblical. It's going to be biblical. Why is it going to be biblical? Because God's in it. God's in it. God is in it. But like I said in this scripture in Psalms 8:9, this is the thing that I love. Because I love him and treasure him, my faithfulness will always protect him. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Because I love him and treasure him. See, God sees what we do. He knows everything that we do. And God spoke to me and he said, Lisa, he goes, it's not the motivation that I'm interested in. He goes, it's the intention behind the motivation. See, there's a lot of good things that you can do. There's a lot of good things. Yes, absolutely, Joni. There's a lot of good things that people do, right? There's a lot of things that people do. Oh my gosh, they do so many things, and they feed the homeless, and they do this, and they do that. You know, I have somebody who I won't say. I have somebody who always tells me about the good things that they do. Well, I just sent all my clothes to this person, or I just sent money to this person, or I just did this for this person. Okay? That's and I just listen and I say, oh, that's so good. That's so nice. But you see, what they're doing, their intention is to be seen. Their intention is for them to tell everybody about the good things that they do. That is their intention. The intention is that they want to put the spotlight on them. See, the motivation is different. They were motivated to do something good, but the intention for the motivation wasn't so good. Does that make sense? So what is your intention? What is my intention? I'll tell you what my intention is. My intention is for you to see the goodness of God, is for you to discover God yourself, to have a relationship with God yourself. I share my stories to encourage you to go and find God and to walk in the supernatural the way that I started walking in the supernatural. Because guess what, guys, I'm really, like, I didn't know anything. I didn't even read the Bible. Come on now. Darren's going to be like, what? You didn't read the whole Bible? Oh my gosh. But I didn't. Still haven't. There are books in the Bible I still haven't read. Seriously. I do read the Bible, but I haven't read the full Bible. There are parts that I haven't. So don't tell me that God can't use you, because he can use me. So if he can use me, he can use you. I'm just a vessel, to be quite honest. That's it. I'm just a vessel, just like you. I said yes. Here I am, Lord. I raised my hand. Here I am, Lord. Send me. Here I am, Lord. Send me. Use me. I'll do it. I'll go. And that's been many, many times that God's like, will you go? When I was thinking about leaving my ministry, I was seriously done. I remember I went to this conference, and Darren Wilson was there, and he was going to show his latest movie, which was Finger of God 2. And I went there and I was broken. And Jason Upton was doing the music. And so as he was playing, and I was just weeping and crying and getting healing through his worship, I was totally getting healing. I was just such a mess. I was just this big lump of clay. You know, I was something before, but then through what happened, I just became this big lump of clay that Father had to restructure, reform, and refill. And so as we, hey Danielle, as we were watching this movie, Finger of God 2, which you guys can go and get if you put in Finger of God 2, I think you can download it onto your computer. But as I watched this movie, it was towards the end, and it was Daniel Kalinda who was talking about how he does these different revival meetings in different countries, and I think he was somewhere in Africa. And so he was up there and he was speaking in the movie, it's coming towards the end, and he called for an altar call. And for those who don't know what an altar call is, it's an invitation to come up and to accept God, to accept Jesus, to start walking as a daughter or a son as the Most High God. It's an invitation. That's what an altar call is. It says, look, you were in one place, but if anything that I've said has moved you, come on up here. I want to pray for you. I want you to be invited into the kingdom. I want to welcome you into the kingdom, right? So that's what an altar call is. And I started to see in the movie, there were like thousands of people who were running to the stage. All of these people were running to the stage to go and to get a piece of this promise that Daniel Kalinda was talking about, this hope and this salvation that he was proclaiming from the stage, and they were running. And the Lord quietly spoke to me. Again, I was crying because it was beautiful. It was just beautiful, the music, and they're running and stuff. And the Lord spoke to me quietly. And he said, Lisa, look at my children. Look at my children running to me. He goes, will you go, Lisa? Will you go for me? Will you go? Will you teach them about me? Will you go? He goes, you know the cost. Will you go? And through the tears and through the snot running down my face and grabbing tissues and through it, I shook my head and I said, yes, Papa, I'll go. Yes, Lord, I'll go. Yes, Lord, I'll go. And at that moment, everything shifted. Everything changed. Everything changed, because then God started to say, okay, now that you're this lump of clay, now I'm going to rebuild you. I'm going to fortify you. I'm going to give you the endurance so that you don't fall apart as quickly. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you to be my vessel, to be my mouthpiece. I'm going to purify you. I believe the same thing has been done. People can say what they want to say about different individuals, but you don't know. You don't know what somebody is doing, because you know what? We mess up. We get things wrong because we're flesh and we're human. And I just want to say this, President Trump was never called to be a priest. He was never called to be this godly man that they keep trying to say, oh, he's not a Christian. I'm going to tell you that the Lord has shown me him praying. I think I've shared that before on one of my broadcasts. It was very quiet, and he just was praying. That's what's happening. We are going to see, that's it, the fruit. We're going to see the fruit of the labors. There's a scripture, it says, no greater love is there for a man who lays down his life for his brother, right? When we lay down our life, and those who are in ministry, we really do. People who are truly in ministry for the right reasons. We lay down our lives because we have to walk away from a lot of things. And there are a lot of people who walk away from us because of what we are called to do. Many, many people walk away from me. We've just been like, later, later. I'll be with you forever, but yeah, not so much. Goodbye. Goodbye. And it hurts. It hurts. It hurts when, people talk bad about you and mock you. and tell you that you're crazy. There are people who have done those things. That's what they do because they don't understand. And so I've lost lots of friends. I've lost lots of people who I truly, truly loved. There have been family members who've walked away from me, and sometimes it was forever, and sometimes it was just for a short time. God is so good. He will bring back those who are supposed to be in your life. He'll bring those people back. You just don't know. You never know. All of a sudden they come back. You're like, well, how'd they come back? But they come back. They come back. So in everything that's going, you find out who the people are in your life who really care about you when everything is falling to crap, that they stand with you. It's great to be around somebody who's operating in the gifts and the this and the that, and they're having all this fun, that's great. But when you lose everything, when you're like at the bottom, when you can barely stand up, that's when you find out who really was with you in the first place. So I think that's what we're starting to see as people are falling away and our people are mocking and people are doing all these things. I think we're starting to see who truly are patriots. Because right now, we are fighting for our country. We are fighting for America, the land that we love. And so those who are willing to just walk away from her, and I do say her, I don't know why, but if they walk away, they never really loved her, huh? It wasn't real love. It wasn't real love. But those who are willing to keep fighting, who keep taking the insults and getting their stuff taken down and losing money. I mean, there are people who are losing money. They've left their jobs. They've done everything to wake up people. That's what it is. God is so good, but he will sustain us. He will sustain us. So let's go back to that verse. Let's go back to that verse, because that verse I think is really important. And let's put it this way, because we said that we were talking about our president. But now I'm going to take this same verse and I'm going to speak it over you. Because this is it. I've chosen you as my loving servant, and I'm going to exalt you. I've anointed you with the oil of my holiness. I will be strength to you, and I will give you my grace to sustain you no matter what comes. None of your enemies will get the best of you, nor will the wicked one overpower you. For I will crush your every adversary and do away with all who hate you, because I love you and I treasure you, and my faithfulness will always protect you. See, sometimes we have to take those scriptures, and we have to make them personal. He's a personal God. Yes, he was talking about David at the time. But then there comes another time. We go through all these trials, and we go through these different scenarios in our life where they're not fun, and it seems as if there are people who want to destroy you. But God is going to protect you. I talked about yesterday the God who protects, the God who defends. That's who he is. And he is going to protect us, and he is going to defend us, and he is going to be with us. That is who he is. So don't give up fighting. Don't give up praying, because we have to stand together. If one soldier falls, we got to pick him back up and say, come on, guy, get back up. Let's go. We got to stand on the wall. We're the watchers on the wall. We're seeing things in the spirit. We're praying things out. Our words have power. What we're seeing, because even before President Trump became President Trump, there was an outcry through the church that said, Lord, expose. Did we or did we not start to pray? Expose. Expose the corruption, Lord. Expose the lies, Lord. This is before President Trump was in office. Before. The church has been crying out to expose things. Lord, expose it. Expose it all. Expose the corruption. Expose it all. Expose the unrighteousness. Expose it all. That's what we've been praying. Lord, expose everything inside of me. Lord, expose, expose, expose. That's what we cried out for. And now we're here. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't believe it. No, our cries were heard. Our cries were heard. So as we're moving into this new place, this new time, this new season, we're going to go up, because as we become exposed, as we have been exposed, and I think everybody has gone through an exposure of your hearts, an exposure of your minds, and an exposure of your intentions, an exposure of your love for God, where it says, do you love God? Do you really love God? Do you trust him? Do you really trust him? Do you really trust him? That's where this is right now. Because if you have fear, there's a kink in your armor. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to point it out so that you can go sit with Papa. So you can go and say, okay, Lord, why am I so afraid? Why am I so afraid? What is it in me that doesn't trust you? Where did that come in? Help me to understand how I can trust you. Help me to see you as a good father. That you're not going just to walk away from our country. That we are going to see new things. Yes, exactly. I rest in you, Lord. But if you are in fear, you can't rest. That's exactly what it is. And so as we're moving into these new places, as we're seeing these new things, and we're going to start hearing new reports, just telling you, new stuff is coming. We're going to get some new bombshells. They're coming. And the next couple of weeks is going to be hard for some people. It's going to be very hard for some people. But God is still in it. God is doing a good thing. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? See, a new thing is not an old thing. A new thing is just that, a new thing. So we might not recognize it because guess what? It's new. It's new. Before we had cell phones, we had pagers, right? So we had the pagers, but then when the phones came out, we're like, what is this? Wait, a phone? But now if you look at the way our phones are, it's nothing like the phones we started with. My goodness, the first mobile phones that we had that were in cars, they look like the phones from Get Smart. They were big and bulky, and now we've come down to this. Whereas if somebody saw it and they didn't know what it was, they wouldn't recognize it because it would be new to them. We have to start looking at the new as the new and start asking the Father, what is this that I'm seeing? What is this that I'm seeing? Because we are seeing a complete and total collapse of religion. And I think that's a good thing, because I think we're going to see a complete buildup of relationship. The reason we were created in the first place by God was for relationship. That's why we were created in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. They were created for relationship. That's it. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about these rules and regulations. The only reason that there are rules from God is because it's to protect his children. It's to protect us. Do this, do this, do this, don't do that. Simple. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do that. And the first 5 of the 10 commandments is about loving God, that there is no other God before him, to honor God, to remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy. It's about separating things. It's about taking your rest. How many Americans actually rest? I mean, seriously. The reason that the Sabbath was created was not created for God. It was created for man because we have to rest. We're in this work mentality, work, but we don't rest. And so we become tired. That's the problem. God has a better way. He has a better plan. And so what we're going to see, I believe that we're going to go through Jubilee. I really do. I think we're going to have a Jubilee. And for those of you who don't know what Jubilee is that every 50 years, according to the Jewish, to the Israelites, the Hebrews, every 50 years, God would give them something called Jubilee. And in Jubilee, all your debts were forgiven. Everything that you owed was wiped clean. And if you were a slave, if you paid off your debts, you were set free. But what it basically was is in that Jubilee, it was a time of a refreshing to catch up. There are so many people who live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and they're barely making it. And so what do? Sometimes they take 2 jobs and 3 jobs. My dad had to work 2 jobs to support his family. He barely slept. My dad, he barely slept. Because the way that the system was rigged, he couldn't win. He couldn't win because the debt just kept building and building and building. It never went away. There never was a, as they call the reset. We don't want a reset. We want a Jubilee. See, the enemy will always take things and he will counterfeit them. Where God gives us Jubilee, a celebration of forgiveness of debt, without any kind of attachment to it. The enemy wants to call it the reset and pretend to wipe away debt to put us deeper in bondage. Come on now. But God is going to do something different. In this season, God is going to do something different. And I believe we are going to have our first Jubilee. And I think it's going to be so glorious and so wonderful. And we are going to have a freedom like we've never had before. We're going to be able to worship. We're going to be able to worship in the streets, and people will be coming together in greater ways. I believe that God is going to be sending people out, just like he sent out the apostles in the 2s. No more is it going to be just one person, no more lone wolf. But he's going to start sending people out, and people are going to start to see the goodness and the faithfulness of the Father. They're going to see the sacrifice of Jesus. They're going to start to understand the comfort and the power of Holy Spirit. They're going to see that they were worshiping a false system, a fake ideology. When they start to hear about some of the things, they're going to weep and cry, and they're going to say, wait, I thought I was worshiping God, because they've been under a system that has told them that this is how you do it. That you're never going to be good enough, that you got to keep going and repenting every single day. You can't take communion because now you're a sinner. And so we're going to put a mark on you, and you can never take communion if you're in the Catholic faith. If you ever divorce, you can't. If you divorce and get remarried, you can never take communion. You're completely shunned. It's awful. It's awful. But I'm just going to tell you that God has something so big and so good. Something so big and so good. So just get excited. Just get excited, because I truly believe we are going to start to see some stuff very, very soon. Very, very soon. And God will not be mocked. That's the other thing I felt this morning. That God will not be called a liar. Phew. Man, I feel that so strong. God will not be called a liar. because God has been talking to too many people. There have been too many confirmations. God did not get this wrong. God will not be mocked, and God will not be called a liar. He will not be called a liar. So I'm just telling you that in this shaking and in what we're seeing, it's a breakdown of a system that needed to be changed. It needed to be changed. So just as the we'll call them the booms, as the booms come, just know that God is still in it. He's in the booms. He's in the exposure. He's in the exposure. But you will be safe. You will be protected. Right? It says, because I love you and treasure you, my faithfulness will always protect you. Come on. He says, it says that he will always protect us. And if you actually read the rest of Psalms 89, and I really suggest you guys do, it starts off talking about David, but then he starts talking about Jesus. Because then it goes on to say, I will set his hand over the sea and his right hand over the rivers, and he will come before me saying, you truly are my Father, my only God, and my strong deliverer. I am setting him apart, favoring him as my firstborn son. I will make him the most high king in all of the earth. I will love him forever and will always show him kindness. My covenant with him will never be broken, for I have decreed that he will always have an heir, a dynasty that will release the days of heaven on earth. Come on. A dynasty that will release the days of heaven on earth. That's a promise. That's a promise. And that's a promise that you can take to the bank. So I just want you guys, read your Bibles, spend some time with Papa. Know that he loves you. Know that he hasn't given up. Know that the best is yet to come. Know that Jubilee is around the corner. Know that something new is approaching. We are on the brink of something new. It's going to be glorious. The best is yet to come. God bless you guys. Hopefully I will talk to you tomorrow. If I don't, just know that you are safe, you are protected, and he loves you so very much. And we will speak again. Love you guys.